What are some of the ways that you can make the greatest impact in the world as we know it? Sure, you can work on yourself, and that's very important that you lead by example. You focus on your own key areas of growth, your emotions, your physical body, your finances, your relationships, your spirituality, your career, your business. Focusing on you and growing yourself will help inspire others to grow at the same time. But what is an area that we can serve that will make the greatest growth for future generations? It's one thing to help people at your career, help people at your job, even work with your family, but it's a completely different thing to focus on the next generation, to focus on youth, to help youth become unstoppable, especially in today's world with all this uncertainty and all these things, you know what I'm talking about, going on right now, that's causing a lot of strangeness and fear. What if we could help youth to become unstoppable? What if we could help youth to achieve their greatest goals? And we don't have a lot of conversations like this in the broadcast, which is why I'm excited to talk to today's guest, Mr. Shaun SF Banks, who I'll introduce you to in just a second here. But you know the fee for the show, which is to share this show with one person who could use it the most. Only if you take away value. Share this show with one other person. We don't have ads. We don't have sponsors. The number one way that the broadcast has been able to exponentially grow in the way it has over the last 6 to 8 months is because you are sharing it. You are part of the team. You are helping out and helping people just as much as the show is. So share this show with one person only if you took away a piece of value. So without further ado, let's talk to our special guest today, Mr. Shaun Banks, who is making a difference for the younger generation. And for those who don't know Shaun SF Banks has been involved in the youth development industry for over 20 years. He excels at motivating and developing youths to go after their dreams while educating families on effective ways to support their youth and give them an edge in life. Shaun is the creator of Camp Warrior King, which helps thousands of youth gain exposure to amazingly fun activities. He hosts the You Can Have It All youth conferences. He's the creator of the You Can Have It All youth motivational development magazine, which we're going to talk about, as well as the Team Hot Sauce development characters and many other development tools for children. He's authored 3 books on personal development. And one of his biggest passions, which we're going to talk about, is the You Can Have It All orphanage in Bombo, Uganda, where they currently support over 30 children with shelter, food, and school supplies. Shaun, you got a lot going on, brother. Thanks so much for being on the show.
Thank you, Brandon. Thank you for having me, man.
So you got to tell me how you're supporting those in this orphanage in Uganda. How did that come about? What's the story there? Because that's freaking awesome, man.
Yeah, man. So right before COVID, I took a trip over to Uganda to do a conference. It was actually one of our first international conferences that we put together. And so went there, did the conference, and one of the gentlemen that hosted me there had an orphanage that was struggling. It was getting ready to be closed down. They had about 35 children. And the concern was that these kids are going to be back on the street because child homelessness is a big, big issue in Uganda. And so, talked to him about it, thought about it, and said, you know what, let's go ahead and take over that orphanage. And so that's what we did. And so we've took over the orphanage and been running it for the last couple of years. And it's just been great. It's been a great blessing for the kids, more so. And, we're seeing things grow and come together. So it's been a lot of fun. Big adventure.
I love that, dude. And I commend you for that, number one. I know you're not doing it to be commended, but it's important that we do, because let me tell you, a lot of people would, not because they're bad people, but a lot of people would go over there, they'd see that problem, right? They'd give the speech and they'd be like, wow, I'm really fortunate that we have it the way we do where we live. And then they fly back home. It's a completely different thing to, I assume you asked yourself the question, what can I do to help these individuals, even though I'm not from here, even though I don't live here? What can I do to make a difference for these individuals from thousands of miles away? Right. And you did that. So where did this passion for doing what you do, where did this passion for helping the youth even come from?
Well, it's funny that you asked, because initially I didn't want to work with kids at all. I couldn't stand kids. I couldn't stand kids at all. And but what started happening is I started to see the need for youth development. There wasn't enough programs being done. There weren't enough things. And I took for granted. I thought that there were. It just wasn't enough. And it's like, okay, why are all these kids being impacted the way that they are? And there just wasn't enough. So what I decided to do is to do something about it. I started out teaching self-defense to women and children in honor of my aunt. My aunt and my cousin were murdered in a domestic violence situation, and I had always wanted to do something, in their honor. And so it was 10 years from the time that they were murdered to the time that I had started, and things started opening up. There were more needs. That's where the camp came from, and we just kind of kept going with it.
That's absolutely incredible. And I'll tell you, man, a lot of people aren't in this space. A lot of people aren't talking to youth. I am seeing more people that I follow who are creating children's books, which is really cool, man. But you've really dived your focus into this realm, and they do need our help, right?
Right.
And I'm the same way. I don't have any kids myself, so I've never even entertained the idea of like doing something for youth. So my question to you is, when you first entered this space, what are the areas that you noticed youth needs the most support in? Were you surprised by what you found? Like, what are those areas?
I was really surprised that there was such a big need, and where children need the help most is love, right? It's love. It's not money. It's not money at all. It's not your, financial prowess. It's not, getting them LeBrons or Kobe's or Jordans or, it's really loving the kids. You can not make a lot of money, but love your child, and that child will remember that. And love is spelled Time, right? It's spending time with them. It's if they love video games, it's playing the game. If they love music, listening to the song. If they want to play baseball, it's supporting them to throw the ball or be a coach or be a team mom or whatever. It's spending the time, and it's through love. Yeah.
It's so funny you say that, man, because I come from the world of sales. And one of the things that I taught for years to new salespeople when I did that full time was the idea that if you want to build trust, if you want to truly make a difference in somebody's day, whether they're a kid or an adult, I feel that we're all children, right? Who just simply have gotten taller, voice got a little bit deeper, gained priorities. But I used to always teach and train the concept of time equals love.
That's right.
And I've never heard another person say that. And people used to look at me and they're like, time equals love. Like, what is that? Like, sometimes solving the problem is simply spending time with the person so that they can describe their problem and talk about what they're going through. What are some ways in which you're able to incorporate love into the things that you do? Because it's one thing to write a book, to have a magazine, to create characters, and to host these events and everything else. But how do you truly ingrain love into what it is you do, especially as someone who children wasn't your thing and youth wasn't your thing at the beginning?
Right. The biggest way that we do it now is with our camps. So Camp Warrior King is a youth development camp that exposes kids to activities they normally wouldn't experience during the school year. And what that allows us to do is be on more of a grassroots level where we're actually hanging out with the kids. We're able to have interactions and talk with them and listen. Now, one of the best ways to show someone that you care about them is to listen to them, listen to their wild ideas, listen to their stories when they come and tell you about, the strange character they created that's now flying to Jupiter or something, and you just listen. But that's how we do it. We do it through activities. We do it through events. What do they want to do? What do they want to be involved in? And then we do those things. And then not only do we do it and then sit on the sideline and watch them, but we get involved. So when we take kids spelunking, I'm down in the caves as well, and I'm over 6 feet and over 200 pounds. So when I got to slip through all these little cracks, right, I'm showing a whole lot of love. And that's how we do it, man. We get involved.
I love that. How often do you host these events? Like, what does a typical event look like if you had to describe it to somebody who's never been to one?
So if we're talking about our summer camp, of course, that's during the summertime when kids are out of school. And then we'll do the activities each season. So we'll have a spring camp, a fall camp, a winter camp. And people describe our camp as a camp on steroids. So we're taking them hiking. We teach them how to shoot, teach them how to fish, teach them how to hunt. We do boxing classes, karate. We did a fashion show over the summer. We did a car show. We did a celebrity basketball game. It's anything that these kids want to do is what we do. Anything that's safe, of course, we do it with them. I mean, they've been zip lining. We've been whitewater rafting. Anything that the kids want to do. We go to fairs, and we do that year round.
How long have you been, because you have a lot of stuff going on, man. This
Yeah.
isn't something that you just like build overnight.
Right.
How long have you been focused on this area of serving and helping youth? Because hosting an event, like I've only hosted a couple events and
Yeah.
not nearly at the magnitude of what you're doing. How long has it taken you to go from the beginning to create this mission that you've created now?
Well, the truth is that it happens overnight, right? And overnight is the longest night of your life. And I say that jokingly because people always talk about overnight success. And the thing is that one night for me has been 20 years of development, over 20 years of development, working with kids, doing things when I didn't want to, and I didn't even know this is what I would be doing. I used to be a camp counselor at debate camps at Emory when I was in high school. And people would always say, "Man, you're good with kids," and I feel, "Oh my God, I can't stand it." But it took years and years to be able to develop this and develop the programs because it took time to see the need and then to be able to develop a program that would fit the need for the kids. And what happened is that as time would go on, you'd find another need, and then you would just fill that need. And
Mm.
so over the years, we've just been, continuing to fill the need. So 10 years from now, we'll have other things going on because there's other needs that need to be met.
What's the need that needs to be met right now?
For children,
Yeah.
well, I think it's the same that what needs to be met for adults. But the biggest thing is to believe that they are unstoppable.
Mm.
That regardless of where they come from, regardless of their home situation, regardless of whether they're rich or poor, regardless of their color, that they are unstoppable, that whatever they see in their mind that they want to be able to create in this world, they can do it. It is possible for them to do it, that whatever they want to do in life, it is possible. And we've seen that time and time again. It's proven with people all around the world that have done great things. And great things, it doesn't always mean money. Right. Great things could be finding a cure for a disease. It could be, helping out a family member. That is a great thing to do because you never know what that family member is going to go on and do in their life. Just being a friend to somebody is a great thing because that might keep them from wanting to, take their own life, which we're seeing a lot with children right now. So it's believing that they can do anything that they want to do in life, that they're capable of doing it, that they have what it takes to do it, and that regardless of what they face in their life, that they can overcome it as long as they keep pressing.
That's freaking awesome. And I know your most recent book is Be Unstoppable Living Life. And I
Right.
want to talk about what it means. I know you kind of just talked about it a little bit, but what it means to be unstoppable and how you help youth. And like you said, it's for anyone and youth. It's not just for youth, but we have actually a question in the audience. So Christy
Sure.
Farley on Facebook asked, are there special needs children who are also incorporated into the camp?
Yes, they are. We have several children that are, and I'll tell you a story about that. So this year we had a young man that was at a previous organization, and he's on the spectrum, and they were ostracizing him, putting him in a room by himself because they were saying he was different.
Mm.
And when the parents brought him over to camp, the parents were hurt by what happened. So we brought him in and we put him in the classroom with all the rest of the kids. And we assigned a counselor to be with this young man throughout the camp. The first day at camp, he would stem. And so stemming is the reactions that they have when a child has autism. They'll make loud outbursts. And it's called stemming.
Mm.
And so he would stem. And when we brought him into the auditorium, when we had our morning assembly, I told him, I said, "Hey, look, this is who this young man is. You guys see him at campus." I said, "And you are to love him. You're going to love him every single day, be a friend to him, give him a high five, and recognize that, he is unique. He's not different. He's not weird. He's not anything like that. He's a friend." And the kids took to that and showed so much love to this young man over the summer, man. And it was just a great experience because it was about including the kids in our environment in a safe way. And it was really a powerful experience for all of us.
That is beautiful, man. It takes a strong leader in order to make that a reality, right? Because
Yes,
I
sir.
can only imagine how much you've had to grow
Yeah.
throughout this process. I know resilience. You're big on resilience. I know you're big on becoming unstoppable.
Right.
You don't just choose those words unless you actually have went through something specific in order to become that.
Right.
So what does resilience mean to you, and how have you had to be resilient in the growth of these programs, but also in your own life?
Well, for with the growth of the programs, it's constantly overcoming challenges, constantly overcoming failures, constantly overcoming situations. When we talk about resilience, having staff that quit at any given time, being able to find the right locations for our camp, being able to get those camps full so that they're meeting the needs of the children, but also profitable. Tons and tons of situations where I've had to be resilient, primarily the fact that I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to do it. I didn't have a background in working with youth. My background was business. I wanted to be a business owner. I didn't want to work with kids. And so I had no knowledge in working with youth. So I had to read a lot. I had to learn. I had to ask a lot of questions. I had to get my hands dirty. I had to figure it out. I had to fall down on my face a lot in order to figure it out. I had to make a lot of mistakes. And a lot of times mistakes it'll chip away at your confidence if you're not certain about what you're supposed to be doing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I dealt with on the business side. On a personal side, I mean, I grew up in a single parent household. I came out of the inner city. I was born during the 80s where crack had first hit the inner city. And so I know what it was like to see someone who was maybe a butcher at a butcher shop on the corner in a store, and all of a sudden that person looks like a zombie walking down the street because they are now on crack. I know what it's like to see gangs and gang violence and all that stuff. And to make it through all of that takes a lot of resilience, because statistically, I was not supposed to be where I am, right? Statistically, I'm supposed to be dead or in jail. And so just the fact that I'm able to continue to do what I'm doing is proof that the statistics don't matter. What really matters is your dream. When the dream is big enough, the facts don't count. I don't care what anybody says about that. When you want something bad enough, you can make it happen regardless of who you are and where you are. I mean, coming up through high school and even trying to get a scholarship to go to college, my mom didn't have any money to send me to school to go to college. My mom told me initially, hey, look, you got to get a scholarship. You got to do some things that you can get into college because we don't have the money for it. And so that's what ended up happening. And so my life was just a series of being resilient. But I think that everybody's life is like that. We all have situations in life we have to overcome. And the difference is the people that press through it and make it happen, and the ones that let their situations take them out.
Oh, preach, man. Preach.
Yeah, man.
I mean, I love meeting people like you, man, because you're different. And I say you're different because you can tell by the way that you talk that you love what it is you do, because you know that you're making a difference. Like, it's not someone who goes on a show just to talk about them and what they're doing, but it's all about the other people, and you're here to spread the word, and you're doing incredible things. And I just wanted to point this out. Christy responded and she says, "Thank you, SF. My eldest daughter is autistic, and that's why I started Beauty's Grace group."
All right.
So super cool.
Yeah,
super cool, Christy. Cool. And yeah, you're
cool.
both doing great things. So you can't do this all alone, right? So what does do you have a team? What does your team look like?
Yes. So I do have a team. My team is primarily my family. So my mom, my sister, my nieces when they're not in school. My brother-in-law actually ran the fitness program for us the first several years we did camp. I've had cousins fly in from out of town. It's pretty much a lot of my family that have helped me do what it is that I'm doing, and that continue to help me to this day. And that has been a great help, because a lot of times with business, you have a vision and people don't understand it. And a lot of your friends, they, for whatever reason, don't necessarily support you. Sometimes they have their own dreams and things they're working on. And then sometimes they just don't understand. But you can't do it by yourself. Mm-hmm. And when you have people that'll support you, it makes all the difference. It doesn't necessarily make it make the blows less impactful that you deal with. But they do definitely make a difference in, helping you get things done.
Absolutely, man. It's cool that you were able to get the buy-in of your family, because it's not always that way. People are living their lives, they're doing their thing. You have a real mission when you're able to get the buy-in of other people who also have busy lives. Right.
And it takes effort. It takes believing in it. People, they see your, it's the saying, certainty creates influence. And when people see that you believe in what it is that you're doing, then they will come along with you to help you make that fire bigger and better.
Absolutely. You can do so much more when you have a team, when you have help, when you have two minds or several minds coming together.
Yeah, man.
We have another really actually good question based off of that.
Sure.
How can we, the people, help with this cause?
The biggest way to help with what we're doing is to get involved either with our youth magazine. If people want to donate towards the orphanage, those two things are great. But it's getting involved in purchasing the products that we have. I mean, we've created some great products to be able to help children. The magazine is one in particular that really helps children. It's a motivational magazine, but then also the orphanage, because we're helping children around the world that don't even have shoes, man, that didn't have a working stove or a bathroom. They were sleeping on rock floors, right? And
Wow.
yet they're still going to school. They still have a smile on their face. And so I caution to say that they're because less fortunate, right? Because financially they are. But sometimes when you talk to the kids, they have a smile on their face that you wouldn't see in an executive walking down Wall Street. It's like they're happy about their life and where they are. And they don't necessarily look at all the challenges. We see them more than they see their own challenges. But that's the best way to get involved.
Isn't
Absolutely.
that fascinating that things that are a big deal to us are not even on the spectrum of being a problem to some other cultures, especially.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
we went to the Dominican Republic about 3 months ago, and we did an excursion, and we got to see some local villages, right? And I'm
Mhm.
from upstate New York, so we've got big buildings. You take a few hour drive, and you're in the city, and you got skyscrapers, and
Right.
we have very different problems because as we're driving through this town in this modern bus, like we were driving by school buses that were bringing, children to where they
Yeah.
had to go. But these school buses were completely like run down.
Right.
And the tour guide was like, yeah, the United States actually ships these school buses to the Dominican once they
Wow.
are no longer safe to drive here.
Wow.
And I'm like, wow, very interesting. Like I never
Right.
knew that was a thing.
Right.
And you saw the children though, and the people in the community, and they weren't like sad. They didn't look, I mean,
Right.
obviously compared to us, they did look like poverty level,
Right.
but
Right.
they were smiling. They were having fun. They were talking with each other. They were trading. They were buying things from the market there. And they didn't perceive their environment
Right.
as anything less than.
Right.
But what we create in our mind as a problem generally isn't a problem, right? It's simply expectations that we believe must be met haven't been met. So it's interesting the problems and the reality that we can create in our own mind when to other cultures, they take what we have as an absolute blessing.
Right. Right. They take it as an absolute blessing. And it's the thing about it, when your environment is what it is, you assimilate to that. So if you've seen your grandmother this way, you've seen your mother this way, or you've seen your grandfather, your mother, your aunts, your uncles that way, then it's like, hey, this is just life. And you learn to accept it and enjoy life the way that it is. And one thing that you learn, especially when you travel around the world to places, especially when there are places that seem to be, that are in poverty, you realize that you don't need as much to be happy, that really the things that you're chasing and things that you're going after, nothing wrong with having those dreams, but you realize that you really have so much already to be thankful for. And when you're thankful for the things that you have, it really elevates your consciousness. It elevates your mindset, because happiness is really what we're all working for every single day. It should just be happy. And happiness doesn't mean money. Right? Happiness doesn't mean just having a nice car or being able to have a jet, or it's just having these things. Happiness is a whole pie, right? It's peace where nothing is missing and nothing is broken. So it really makes a big difference.
Damn.
Yeah, man.
Well said. And it's so true. It's so true. I want to talk about your magazine, and
Okay.
it's called the You Can Have It All magazine.
That's
Right?
right. That's right.
So tell me a little bit about it. Like, when did you start the magazine? How did it come about? Like, give us like an inside look at this, because I haven't seen anything like this before. So give us an inside look.
Awesome. So You Can Have It All magazine it's one of the only youth motivational magazines of its kind in the world. There's nothing else like it. And what it does is it motivates kids to go after their dreams. And what makes the biggest difference is that it's children inspiring other children. I started the magazine several years ago. It was a vision that I had, an idea that, okay, how else can we inspire kids all over the world, because we're not going to be able to get all over the world to each and every child, but we can get something in their hand that they're inspired the way they are at our camp. And so we came up with this magazine. And so I have a copy here. I'll show you. This is our most recent issue. There it is. And on the cover, it's all about motivation. That gentleman right there, that's Cameron Shell. Cameron Shell is the gentleman responsible for putting the first cameras on the International Space Station. He's also the CEO of Dragonfly Drones. Matter of fact, their drone is responsible for saving the first life, and that drone is actually in the Smithsonian. But the magazine is full of inspiration. The kid, let's see here if I can do it. That kid right there, bam, that is Cameron. And sorry, that's not Cameron, that's Keenan. And Keenan is one of the fastest youth in the country. He's ranked 13th right now. His goal is to be in the top 5.
Wow.
And you have, let's see here, that kid down there, that's DJ. And DJ is a dirt bike racer, right? This young lady here, I think my hand's covering her. There she is. That's the Plugs lawyer. That's Tiffany Simmons. And she grew up in the inner city and is now a really successful attorney and has her own show. And so when you flip through it, I'll do it that way, you can kind of see all the inspiration in the magazine.
Wow.
Right.
You say it's for children by children. What does that mean?
It's for children by children. What I mean by that is that, for example, the young man that did the interview with Cameron is 15.
Wow.
15-year-old young man that actually did that interview. A lot of the journalists in the magazine are kids. They're writing the articles. They're doing the interviews. The people that we highlight most times are kids. And so what it does is it allows a kid to see another kid doing something from anywhere in the world and say, man, maybe I can do that too. Wow, this kid is doing this article, or this kid is dirt biking, or this kid is running track. Maybe I can run track. Maybe I can do that. Maybe I can be a lawyer. Maybe I can, write a cool paper. Maybe I can get a college scholarship for doing something cool.
That's spectacular. I mean, I've never seen anything like that. And it sounds crazy to say that, because you go to Barnes & Noble and there's hundreds of magazines, but I don't see youth magazines, especially by children. Usually it's like older authors trying to talk to children, but it's like, dude, you haven't been a child since you were like, it's been like 30 years,
30 years. Right.
That is so innovative. And the one thing I got to say too, is that was a beautiful design on that cover. Like,
oh, thank you.
That was your design. How do you get that looking like that?
Well, you get somebody to illustrate it for you, come up with the idea. So that's the front. This is the back here. Wow. And that's the back. And matter of fact, these are some of the kids from camp. This is a canoeing trip we took some kids on. This young lady right here is holding a squid in her hand. You probably can't see it from there.
A little bit.
And these kids here are doing a donut competition where you have to try to eat a donut off of the rope. And then these are some of our characters, like our cartoon characters and stuff here.
Those are the hot sauce characters, right?
That's Team Hot Sauce. Yeah, those are the characters. But yeah, the idea was keeping the covers exciting and entertaining, right? Because as adults, we want one thing to look at, but kids need to be stimulated, right? They want to see it. They want to see pictures and all kind of really cool things. And part of the motivation for that was at a Barnes & Noble, you go in there and you'll see 3 or 4 magazines that have been around for a very long time, but there's nothing there that really inspires or motivates kids to go after their dreams. And with everything going on in the world, the fact that children are being exposed to things at such a young age, they need to be exposed to motivation at a younger age as well to combat some of the negative that they're seeing in society. So there's a 5-year-old, a 6-year-old is learning to read, right? Well, if they can read something on social media, or if they can read, something on TV, or if they can hear something that may not be, as inspiring as we want, they can also read and hear and see the inspiration so that they can combat some of the negative out in the world.
Oh man, I love that. Especially as a young kid who comes from a family or background that's not very well off compared to others, right?
Right.
They will read those stories, and they are reading those stories, and they're saying, wow, look at what this person was able to do. Their situation might have even been a little bit worse than mine. But if anything, I mean, something's only impossible until it's done, right?
Until it's done.
The Roger Bannister story, the guy, couldn't run the 4-minute mile. He kept practicing, trying. The year he did it, 13 other people did it after they saw that it was possible. that same thing is happening for these children reading this magazine, which is incredible.
That's right.
How is it, like a monthly subscription? How does it work, and how can we get signed up for this magazine?
So to get signed up for the magazine, you go to You Can Have It All magazine, or go to ychiamag.com right there. ychiamag.com is how you can get signed up.
Is it a monthly issue?
We do it every other month right now.
Yeah, I was going to say that would be a lot to do every month.
Yeah, every month would be a lot. Yeah, so we like to do the magazine and then unpack it so that we can do live interviews. You get to meet some of the people, to highlight them a little bit more, get a little bit more social media exposure. So we're kind of, unpacking the magazine. But that's exactly where you go to get it. And you can get a digital copy, or we'll ship one right to your door, which is really cool for kids because, to get something in the mail is really cool, especially when you're a kid. Yeah. It's
they
like,
don't know what that
man,
means anymore, man.
They don't know what it means, man. It's like, my magazine is here. You open it up and there's posters in there. Like there's, word puzzles. There's a kid right there. He's doing a book review right there.
I can't get over how, I mean, I didn't, I it's not that I expected it not to look good, but I didn't expect it to look like this. Like, I want to get the magazine, man. I want to look at the magazine. That's inspiring for me to see what these kids are doing. It's like, holy crap. Like, it's like Ryan Toys on YouTube. The guy's making and he's like, come on, man. Like, that's super inspiring.
That's right.
Everyone, there's links in the description to go check out the You Can Have It All magazine. And I do want to ask you about your Team Hot Sauce. Okay. Where did these characters come from? Because that's also innovative. Tell us the story about that if you could.
Sure. So Team Hot Sauce are personal development characters designed to build a child's self-efficacy. And self-efficacy is all about I can do. So self-confidence is I am. Self-efficacy is I can do. And they both run hand in hand. And so these characters were designed to build self-efficacy. They created, when I started my martial arts programs years and years and years ago, I had a kid that was drawing, and they would draw these characters for me. And we set on them for about 10 years. And that's how long these characters have been around. We set them for about 10 years. And then it came a time to say, okay, look, let's do something with these characters. And so we started creating them and designing them for kids. And the premise behind it is that they go all around the galaxy, and they are helping other people to believe in themselves, to go after their dreams. For example, this character here, Ketchup, on my hat, he's kind of a round guy, and we named him Ketchup because he's tomato, right? And the joke is like, right, ketchup, right? And so, but he's a comedian. He's a funny guy. And in the issues that we have, see if I can show it to you real fast. He created an invention for them. They're getting ready to beat Elon Musk to Mars is their goal. And that's the comic. And the whole thing is, do you have it? And they're like, well, what is it? And that's what's in the bag. He's going to reveal what it is in the next issue. But the characters are able to do anything that they want to do. So Broccoli, which is one of our characters, he's a karate guy, right? But he's also a lawyer. Right? And it's like, right? But because that
would be a lawyer.
Broccoli, Broccoli would be a lawyer. And this is here. I'll show you a picture of Broccoli real fast. But the whole idea is that they can be whatever they want to be right now. And that's kind of the idea of inspiring kids to go after their dreams, that you can be whatever you want to be. You may not be able to do it as fast, but you can actually be that person. And there's Brock right there. He's actually flying a drone in this issue. And that's actually a poster for the kids to take and cut out and put on their wall.
Wow.
Yeah.
I cannot get over what you have going on right now and the power of this. How many years would you say you've been actively building this idea? How long has this been in motion?
Oh, man. How long have I been doing it?
Yeah. You got a lot going on, man. This is, man, I'm impressed.
I mean, it's been over 20 years just building and developing and putting together. The martial arts program is where everything kind of kicked off. That was about 2007, 2008. So that hasn't been that's not quite 20 years, but that was where things kind of started taking off when I started working. I was in business, I was doing finance, and the market changed about 2008. And so everything kind of shut down. I said, well, man, how do I make a living for myself? My buddy said, well, hey, look, why don't we start teaching kids martial arts? And that's what we started doing. I had been in martial arts since I was 6 years old. Mm-hmm. My mom put me in there to keep me from getting in trouble and to get me some discipline. I was at the Boys and Girls Club. And so I always had that skill. and I ended up using that skill to be able to make some extra money for myself. And then things just picked up. So in about 2011 is where the first character, it sounds about the first character was drawn.
Wow.
And like I said, it took about 10 years because we just sat on it. We didn't know what to do with them for a long time. And so we were just drawing characters, broccoli, karate. We were just drawing them. We didn't have an idea of what to do with them just yet. And then, a little while ago, the idea said, okay, this is what we're going to do. And then we started putting the characters together and putting them on different products and shirts and the success stacks, which are our cards, our development cards. And that's where we started doing all of that.
The reason I ask that is it just goes to show what you can accomplish with focused effort and resilience in a decade, right? It's hard for some, like you said, it was overnight over the course of many years.
Right.
But a lot of the times we, especially as adults, right? And it's the same thing for kids. We have an idea for something and we get discouraged once it's not coming to fruition immediately after we create that goal.
Right.
But we overestimate what we might be able to get done in a year, but we heavily underestimate what we can do in a decade. And that's a Tony Robbins quote, but you personify it brilliantly with what you've done this past 10 years. Yeah. My final question for you, because we could go in 20 different directions, but I want to respect your time too. What does the next 10 years look like for this You Can Have It All series and brand?
Ooh, man, we'll have to see. Well, what it looks like in my mind is getting, conferences, youth conferences all around the world, definitely in the United States, but all around the world to motivate children to go after their dreams. It looks like having the magazine in different countries around the world. I want the magazine in every country in the world. I want it in multiple languages. I want it everywhere that children can be inspired to go after their dreams. I want posters on all their walls, whether they live in a mansion or they live in a hut. I want a kid to be able to have a poster on their wall that says, man, I'm inspired by this. And so that 10 years from now, 20 years from now, they could pull it out and say, man, I remember having this quote on my wall that some kid said, and that's what inspired me to do X, Y, Z. That's what the next 10 years looks like. It looks like opening up multiple orphanages around the world because children need help. They need that inspiration, and being able to take part of the proceeds from our sales to do that, because that's what we do now. It's part of the sales from the magazine and the stacks and the products goes towards helping this orphanage. And it's not as hard, right, as far as financially as it seems, right? And so it's getting those all over Africa, all over just different countries where there are homeless children that have a mom or a dad, but still have a dream, and helping those kids with that dream. So, in my mind, that's what it looks like. I mean, it's spreading the vision and getting it out here and motivating kids all over the world. And this is coming from somebody that did not want to work with kids. And I laugh about it because I really didn't. And so when I think about what's happening, and I have such a great passion for it now, there's nothing else that I'd rather be doing than to help develop these youth. And so for anybody that's listening that has a dream, don't let anything stop you. And it doesn't take 20 years for you to start seeing any kind of result. Things started happening along the way. And I think that's important because sometimes like, oh my God, 20 years seems like a long time. But, for example, first year in our camp, I was in the red. I lost all my savings. I owed people money. Took me months to be able to pay the guys back that were working because they were along for the ride. But, over the next couple of years, things started getting easier and easier. So it doesn't take as long as it might seem. It happens a lot faster than you think. But you just got to stick with it.
Time's going to go by regardless of whether we're doing something now or we're not doing something now. So if we can be years ahead and be able to look at where we are, realize that we have been focused, we have been putting in the time and the efforts, then we'll create beautiful things, because time never stops. Whatever this thing that we created called time really is, right? It continues to go and go and go, but change is inevitable, but growth is a choice.
That's right.
You've been choosing to grow. And let me tell you, brother, I'm excited for the day that this magazine is in Japan, China, all these even third world countries. Like I'm excited because I know it's going to happen within the 10 years, maybe even 5 years. And I just love everything you're doing, brother. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. And I am rooting you on from afar because you've inspired me and you've kicked me in the ass today to get going because of everything that you're doing. So thank you for that personal dose of inspiration.
Right on, man. Thank you so much, Brandon. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it, bro. I really do. Thank you.
Take care, brother.
All right, you too, man.
If you don't feel jazzed up after that, then I don't know what's going to jazz you up, because SF is making moves. He is going to be international, right? There's going to be conferences everywhere to help youth, but also to inspire you and I, right? The adults. And this begs the question again, what can you do to help, one, this movement? Go to the links in the description to check out the You Can Have It All magazine. You can check out Shaun's books in the description. You can check out his events. Any links I can find, I'm going to link you there. Follow him on Instagram as well. You can find the link to that in the description here. And the second question is, what can you do in order to make your life that much better, to make your life unstoppable, to be unstoppable in your life, but also to lead by example for other people in their own lives and for the youth that matters the most to you? Just a kick-ass discussion. Be sure to share the show with one person if it made you smile, if you took something away from it in terms of education, if you found any value, share the show with one person. And as always, thank you so much for watching. And until we talk again next time, continue to be better.